Welcome to Empowered Life Hacks, where we share with you an explosion of tips to help you overcome your daily struggles. Pay attention for the audio and visual cues, and this will let you know when an actionable idea is right on its way.
Hey everyone, welcome to Empowered Life Hacks. Here's my friend Nick. Nick, if you just want to wave at everybody.
Hey, what's up, Eric? Thanks for having me.
Hey, yeah. Well, my pleasure's all mine, my friend. So the reason I have Nick here today is, well, first off, our goal is to provide people, the youth of tomorrow, the youth of today, and the adult growing mind with simple, actionable tips you can use to improve your life. And now more than ever, with information overload, you want to find somebody to guide you sometimes. And Nick was telling me about his value of mentorship. And I thought you'd be a great candidate for sharing your journey and experiences with that to people of all ages. And lo and behold, he's here and agreed to join us today. So Nick, yeah, why not just kind of guide us how you landed onto the idea of finding a mentor and maybe how your life was like before it and after?
Yeah, no, thanks, Eric. Yeah, I'm really jacked about this because mentorship has played a huge part, not in my personal life alone, but my wife as well. I guess to be completely honest with you, the way I found a mentor was very organically. I wasn't in the space of like I need to find a mentor. I was like pursuing one, but I actually got linked up to mine through a good friend of mine, just because I kind of saw that he thought differently, he was acting differently, he was doing different things, and I'm like, man, like who are you learning these things from? Like this is the type of mindset that a normal 21-year-old wouldn't have, because at that point in your life you're just worried about like partying and driving fast cars and like all that good stuff. So it was, I don't know, it was just different, and kind of coming from like a single mom household. My mom was always like, you need to surround yourself with some good people. You need to always look for opportunities to get ahead in life. And but for me, I was just kind of coasting through college, just kind of studying engineering, didn't really know where I wanted to go. I knew I was lacking guidance, but I never had the thought of having a mentor. But when the concept was introduced to me and I got a chance to understand the values and the character of my mentor, that's when it became very apparent that, okay, I need to like pursue this guy. I need to like get to know him and like kind of figure out like what he's been doing and all that. And this happened back in 2014, so that's been a friendship I've had for almost over 6 years now, and it's been tremendous. It's been a lot of fun, and it's definitely added a lot of perspective in my life too.
That's a fantastic story. I mean, especially because it happened organically, it's almost like it was meant to be, right? And it's always a cool thing. And I think we want a lot of our interactions to happen that way. We want things to fall into place once we're ready. Preparation meets opportunity. But you mentioned at some point there was some pursuit. It's kind of almost like you're trying to ask a girl out on a date, of course, but not really. You just want to ease into the idea of being mentored. What was that like?
Um, I mean, it was kind of, he made it feel comfortable, so I think that's what made it feel comforting, to really go to him and really ask him for advice or ask him for perspective and just guidance, because it was like kind of strange at some points, because when you're opening up to somebody about like your finances, maybe some mental things going on, some financial things, you only know this person for a short amount of time. You're like, can I really trust him with this type of information? But he's got tremendous people skills. So for me, it only took me about a couple months for me to open up fully to him. And that's a relationship, because I think a lot of the times too, when people they earn something, right? They earn something, there's value in it, but when they become too accustomed to that earned value, they tend to depreciate it over time. And it's like you've got maybe it's like if you were to get like a really fast car, I don't know, like a Ferrari or a BMW. You work really hard, you've earned it, you got the car, then like you drive it a while and you're like, like it's just another car, and you really start to like lose value in it. But I think that's a dangerous mentality, because in a relationship, if you don't keep that same intensity of appreciation over time, it kind of loses its edge and it loses its spark and it loses its potential, right? Because if there's nothing being fed and invested into the relationship, that's something that could easily just become very stagnant, and that's never a good thing either. So, but yeah, I would say that's pretty much it for that one.
You referenced a very good point here about safety and feeling safe. And now more than ever, especially in environment health and safety in larger organizations with higher medium risk, you want a culture of safety where people embody the health of one another. However, they started learning that a big component of that actually is safety psychology. If people feel safe, inherently all departments flourish, and obviously the safety of the department and people wanting to keep things well for everyone. So you mentioned a big part of that relationship, right, was the safety psychology. So it's cool that like the same thing that makes a great organization thrive, obviously on a human level, thrives that as well. Can you explain some of the benefits you've had from being able to open up to someone like a mentor and being able to just confide in him fully? I think we spoke earlier and you mentioned like financially, marriage wise. Do you want to just get into it on a high level and maybe we can dig a bit deeper?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is a good question. I love talking about this stuff. I think the biggest area in a blanket statement would just be perspective. Learning how to look at a situation with a logical sense versus an emotional sense. My mentor always talks about that, and you hear it all the time. You never make a decision when you're really high. You never make one when you're really low.
Yeah.
And if you can't find a stable medium, then you need to talk to somebody who is emotionally stable so that logic can take its place. I think the biggest thing has definitely been with my finances and my relationships. Just the fact of getting out of debt. People have student loans like piling up every day, car payments, house payments. If you've got kids, that's a big expense too. And even us as individuals, that's a big expense, right? So I think just some simple principles that we have learned many years ago that we still implement today is, things like if you can't buy it twice in cash, you can't really afford it. Like you can buy it, but you probably can't afford it to take the hit, right? And another thing is instant gratification. I don't know if you're familiar with the term at all, but it's a kind of a pandemic within itself in our today's day and age with millennials and Gen Y, and a lot of it goes to social media. Now, social media is a good thing, but I think it has kind of made its way to the instant gratification for people. They're looking for quick results. They're looking for quick happiness. They're looking for quick joy, and anything that comes quick leaves just as quickly. And I think for us, when it comes to like financial decisions, there's an instant consequence and there's a delayed consequence. People, I love to go out and have fun. I used to go to the bars all the time. I used to go to the clubs. I'm like, man, I'm gonna drop $200 tonight. I'm gonna have a good time. So there's that instant gratification, but then there's a delayed consequence in the morning. You got a pounding headache. You're like, crap, $200 in the hole. I feel like crap. All these things. So I think it's allowed us to really think through an expenditure and a purchase, saying like, do we actually need this? If we do need it, will it have consequences to it? And I think just being able to carry our decisions through a two-step filter like that has really helped us really big time from some big purchases that could have totally wrong. So, and then obviously like relationships, there's a lot within that too. But yeah, it's been a huge thing for us, no doubt.
So before mentor, going crazy, going wild, as the kids call it, you're lit at the club.
Yeah.
Now, with the mentor, you're thinking more logical versus emotionally because they've been through it before. They can say, hey, I've been in this battle, son. Use the AK or whatever. I've shot this basketball. Put your hand like that. So let's say now you have this kind of more logical response in your life. While emotion is driving why you may do something, you're more rational with impulse. And you mentioned it helped you kind of like financially and stuff. May I ask your age before I ask the next question, if you feel comfortable disclosing? Maybe roughly your age?
For sure. I just turned 28 back in October.
You did. And you mentioned you're debt free at 28?
So close. My
Close to
wife
debt.
is debt free. Yeah, my Jessica, she's 29, and she actually just paid off her last student loan about 2 weeks ago, so she's completely debt free. Yeah, it's the biggest
Amazing.
thing.
Well, you're more or less getting there, and that's still astounding, especially in the States with, I mean, people, regardless if you're a student, have more average debt than Canadians typically. And at that with school, it's like, how did you get there? Like, how did your mentor help you financially? And is that something you're anticipating looking for in your mentor? Like, was it strictly work related, or was it also the holistic package of finances and marriage and things?
Yeah, that's a great question. The original goal with having a mentor was to get wealthy, to be honest with you. Never came from a lot of money. It always seemed like there was more days in the month than paychecks. So my initial response is like, okay, I'm just going to make a lot of money, take care of my mom, take care of my sister, take care of my future family. But then as you mentally mature over time, you start to look at it through a different angle and be like, okay, I still want to get wealthy, but I also need to get out of debt. I need to contribute to the community. I need to set a good example. I need to build leadership. But I think for me, a simple example is like I still have an iPhone 6s. My phone is 5 years old. Now, can I afford a phone? Absolutely. I can go to the store right now, paid in cash, boom, done. It is what it is. But my thing is, okay, do I need to spend $1,000 on a new iPhone when this one works just as good, it runs just as effectively? So it's more of a want than a need. I can delay that gratification for another probably 4 to 6 months before it probably hits the fan. But now pre-mentorship, Nick would be like, oh, iPhone 12, like let me go get it, man. I got the money, let's spend it, and let's get it on payment plans. I think payment plans are the death of people because it's like it's a reoccurring I guess notification that you owe money to people. And I think for us, we want to get good. We want to get out of debt. So we have made certain decisions over this time, whether it's eating out less, whether it's buying a cheaper car, whether it's taking less trips, buying less Christmas presents. And these are things people are not willing to give up. We were because we want to live a debt-free life. We don't want to owe people any money outside of, like your electric bill and stuff like that. And we want to be able to pay stuff in cash because I think that true peace of mind comes when you've got financial independence, financial choices. Because if you think about it, you look at your everyday discussion with your parents, your family, I guarantee you're talking about money at some point in time or how you need to make more money. So I think for us, it's really just kind of getting smart with our money, getting smart with making money and saving it, and just really making it as a tool and not really being a slave to it. I hate to say it that way, but we are in some way.
For sure. I mean, the essence of slavery is part of life because we're a slave to our body. When our body wants food, right? So, I mean, it makes sense if finances provide food for us, we'll be a slave to that. It's just how you kind of master it. As corny as that sounds, but um, you also mentioned marriage, and I think it's cool because you both are so young. You're like a powerful super couple. You're like the I don't know. If you look at celebrities out there, that's just how I see you guys. You guys are just epic to me because you're young, you're financially free, you both work hard, and you have a really cool perspective on things. But not only that, as individuals, you meet somewhere in the middle in a marriage, which now, as you know, is getting increasingly difficult to manage with the era of instant gratification and with different societal pressures and the news telling us to think and be a certain way. Marriage isn't as desirable. And you guys, to me, are selling marriage. I honestly was kind of like, I don't know. And you guys are making me more open to it, truthfully. So it's like, how did your mentorship guide you through that? And again, that wasn't something you looked for, but how did that come about through your mentorship process?
Big topic. I'll keep it short.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for the kind words, man. We appreciate that. We take a lot of pride in our marriage. And it's always good to hear that we are setting the example. Because that's priority number one for us is, are we setting the right example with our marriage? And that was never like a thing. It was just like, okay, let's just be together because, we have fun in certain elements and, we enjoy certain things. We like going to festivals. We like EDM. We like all that. But I think once you kind of get past the superficial and like surface level interest and you kind of connect on a deeper level, that's where true connection comes in. I think people are like, oh, I've been with this person for 6 months, a year, and like we don't really connect. Well, to be honest, marriage is a lifelong thing that will require a little bit more time investment on the front end. And for me, I had to understand that because Jessica was my first girlfriend. I was, by every definition of a I don't know. I just like to play around. I like to have fun. I didn't like to have boundaries and stuff. And, that ruins men because when you kind of, I hate to say, like, kind of, you start to like degrade yourself when you start to put yourself out there more, and when you get rejected and you come across obstacles, like, why does nobody like me? How come nobody wants to stay with me? Everybody's got a lot of value to add. And I think it's up to our individual responsibility to discover and respect that. Now, when it comes to like marriage, I was not going to be a good husband if I didn't love myself. Because if you don't respect the way you are, if you don't respect the values you hold, or even the talents you have, how could somebody else respect that in return? And for me, I wouldn't really try to understand. Like guys say, like, "Oh, babe, like I get it. Like I know you're hungry, you're mad, you're upset. Like whatever. Let me play my Xbox, right?" But when you truly take the time to understand your spouse, why they act the way they act, why do certain emotions flare up at certain times, why do they have certain behaviors, um, like get to know them like psychologically. It's okay to do that. And I know it's not popular to like, to me it's not popular to like encourage your wife to do big things. It's not encouraged to show love to your wife in front of your guy friends, your bros, because it makes you look weak. I think it's the exact opposite. I think if you don't edify your wife or edify your spouse, or really bring them up in front of other people, that shows a sign of weakness, because that means that you don't really believe in your spouse enough to the point where you don't want to brag about them in front of other people. Another thing that I used to do, which was horrible and I'm very ashamed of it, was I used to like kind of crack these like little nuanced jokes to Jessica because I was just trying to be like funny, but like deep down it would like actually hurt her confidence, right?
Oh man.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I feel you, man. But your whole thing you're driving to me is that ask these questions, be perceptive, look at their facial expression. How are they treating you differently? Maybe they have something that they want to talk about and they want you to come approach them, which is often with communication, especially with ladies. We have to be the ones asking the questions. We have to take that initiative. So, did it kind of nail the head on the hammer there, though, more or less?
no, I think it was spot on, and yeah, I think being aware of what you say, I think that's a big element. And for any guy that's like listening to this, I encourage you to do the dishes, cook your wife some food, do the laundry, get your hands dirty in a different way. We don't always have to be playing in the mud and doing the woodwork. I think that a true man always gives 100% contribution to the household, not just outside the house, but inside the house. And this whole like 50-50 relationship perspective, Eric, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it's 50-50 in a partnership. I think it's 100-100. I think you should give 100% of your effort, your time, and your energy, and your spouse should do the same. 50% only gets half the results. So I think that's another key element that we got as well.
For sure. It sounds like very business oriented, and it's unfortunate that sales and business kind of has a bad rap sometimes, but often it's the premise of a successful relationship with a good give and take, a win-win. And it sounds like that recipe you have of giving 100, you want that from your staff, you'd want that from your customers, and of course, you'd want it from yourself and your lady. A big part of what I'm hearing is communication. Now, if I were to break this down to people, when looking for a mentor, everybody, make sure you connect with them, you build it slowly, and eventually have a commonality and go for the ask. But one thing you mentioned is make sure they have a perspective that you would like, financial freedom or understanding that you would like, maybe an understanding on relationships and marriage you would like, but inherently communication comes into that, being able to articulate yourself in many different arenas. Is that something we can dig deeper into? Do you have something to be said about your ability to communicate and your express yourself, and maybe position yourself in more advantageous ways with having a mentor versus not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the ability to communicate is probably one of the most underrated skill sets that people really work on.
Hmm. Hmm.
Whether you're an engineer, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a geologist like my wife, you have to be able to communicate complicated things in simplicity, right? You have to have brevity. That's something I personally work on. You got to be able to talk less but say more, if that makes sense.
Of course.
So I think yeah, communication has been a huge aspect. I think the ability to communicate with transparency is a huge thing. I think a lot of people are scared to do that. And it can be a little nerve wracking, like I said, if you don't know the person that well. Like Eric, we're still getting to know each other. I probably won't tell you about certain financial things or certain marriage things. But, let's say like our parents, like we can go to our parents for anything, hopefully. And I think when you don't have that open line of communication, it it caps you with your potential, because when you blow off the cap and reach new heights of potential, you're going to reach an area of the unknown, and you have to communicate with somebody who's been to that area in order to master that unknown presence that you're about to go into. So, and life happens, stuff happens, parents pass away, you lose your job, you lose your home, whatever it might be. And if you don't have somebody to lean into to make those logical decisions when adversity hits, that could be very troublesome and very frustrating. So communication has definitely solidified our relationship with each other, with our mentor. And that's something that we definitely don't take for granted, that ability to communicate. Some people don't even have the ability to communicate. I mean, we're talking about doing a Zoom or a Microsoft meeting right now, and people don't have this privilege. And if we're not taking advantage of our ability to communicate, kind of already losing it because of social media, then as human beings, are we really connecting? You know?
And that's a big goal from me creating this, really. It's just like, look, school is very valuable, everybody, I agree. But there's something to be said. I didn't learn how to be motivated in school. They didn't teach me mindset in school. They didn't teach me a class on compassion, right? I didn't have a class on dealing with personal trauma. You learn all this as you go, and then you're already defective, but but perfect through the same way as a human, right? We're perfect through our imperfections, but over a while it builds and it hinders us, right? So it's just like the idea is, I mean, the mentor gave you perspective, financial freedom, you know, a wonderful marriage, the ability to communicate effectively too, and it seems like it kind of washed away some of that, the things you didn't have an understanding of, more or less, right? That lack of understanding that you didn't have, the mentor was able to kind of provide that for you. Is that fair to say? Like the before and after snippet?
Yes, I would totally agree. And if you don't mind me sharing, I'd like to share a certain example. That's
Yeah,
cool.
please do. Of course. Yeah, 100%.
So, forewarning, this is going to get kind of this is a big story. It's close to my heart. It involves my mother passing away. She passed away almost a year ago. You know, to lung cancer, and which is kind of ironic because here's what mentorship did for me in that really adverse time. I remember getting a call from, my mom in New York. She's like, hey, I fell, I'm going to the hospital. 2 days later, she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Not a good sign that you want to get, especially when you're in Vegas trying to have fun. I got that type of phone call. And thankfully, I was with my mentors at the time. And, in the moment, you're like, why is this happening? Why am I being faced with this challenge? Why is, God or whoever you believe in, why are they giving this to me right now? And sometimes when we get hit with adversity, we don't understand in the moment why it's happening. But I do assure people that you will get the answer to that question, whether it's in 2 weeks, whether it's in 2 years or 2 decades. Now, this whole like 9-month episode of my mom having cancer, I was constantly questioning myself, like, why me, why her, all these things, right? But what my mentors did is like, hey, Nick, they meant this with good intention. Your situation is not unique. And that was kind of hard to take because I'm like, how could you say that? Like, it's my mom, she's got cancer. He's like, Nick, I understand. And, we're going to pray for you. We're going to do all these things. But people get cancer all the time. And they weren't trying to like emotionally get me upset, but they were trying to help me understand and have a new perspective on the situation. And I'm like, okay, like I believe you, like I appreciate that, but like why is it still happening? Sure enough, 1 month after my mom passed away, COVID hit, respiratory diseases flying around the world. And I could not even imagine trying to travel back and forth to New York with COVID going around and just so much and not being able to see her. I got my answer 9 months after she got diagnosed with cancer, why she got diagnosed with cancer. My answer was COVID. And I know it was kind of hard for me to understand in the beginning, but I did get that answer. I got a lot of assurance. And I always tell people, like, you will get that answer as to why you're getting that adversity. I think that's a huge thing. And you're not alone. People have gone through the same things, have gone through worse things. And I think when we embrace that and we focus on the solution to the problem that we're facing, it allows us to think logically and really handle it the proper way.
I straight up got goosebumps while you're telling that story, by the way. It was such an intense story, and it was like, I think it was so impactful and so relatable. And look, it's healthy to play the victim a little bit because it's natural human response at times to say, "Whoa, why is this happening to me?" You have to, it's an assessment, but it can hurt you over a prolonged period of time, and after years pass, that can kind of hinder your perspective, and it'll affect all areas of your life. And it sounds like a mentor really grounds you through all these times. Um, and I don't want to overwhelm the people, really. I just wanted to give everybody out there a slight idea of how to find a mentor roughly, which is just organically use social media, build relationships, try and connect with people, and see who resides with you. But another thing I wanted to add with people is just show people the value of having someone who's been through something that can ground you. Even Mike Tyson, right? I mean, God forbid you don't have a parent out there at a very young age, but look what that mentor did for Mike, right? I mean, they say friends are the family we get to choose. So are your mentors, right? So it's just, Nick, do you have any closing kind of thoughts or anything you want to let the people know as a closing statement?
Yeah, I think I would just, if you're really looking for a mentor, it will happen. Everything in life happens at the right time when it's supposed to happen. Look for somebody that's got the life that you want to live. That is a very key question you need to ask yourself is, do they have the fruit on the tree? Do they have the results in life that I want? And if they do, talk to them. And if they give you answers that you don't like, it's okay. You can try and find somebody else. But do not blindly follow somebody when you don't know the results that they have. And if they're not willing to share those results, they might not be the transparent person that you need to communicate with all the time. So yeah, just go out there, find somebody. It could be somebody in your own household, it could be in your circle of friends, it could be a total stranger like it was for me. But I wish you the best and for trying to find one. And yeah, hopefully your ride is just as fun as mine.
Nick, it's been a pleasure. Looking forward to keeping in touch with you and seeing all that you accomplish, man.
Appreciate it, Eric.
Cheers.
God bless.
Yep, you too, man.
Everyone, thanks so much for checking in on this episode with Nick. He really did cover not just how to get a mentor, right? But really, we actually dug into the value in the different areas these mentors can help you navigate. Why? Because when you look for a mentor, it's a holistic person, right? And people are very dynamic. And of course, you can go to particular mentors for certain things, but why not someone that has the full package? The career you would like, the marriage or romantic relationships you would like, the perspectives, the finance, the business. And Nick really found a way to navigate all those waters I just suggested through the help of a mentor. And through all those vulnerable experiences too, I hope you can see the value of having someone who's been there, done that you can trust and slowly build that relationship with till you share more and more information so he can properly or she can properly guide you. And we really covered a lot in Empowered Life Hacks so far, right? Overcoming instant gratification, to finding your purpose, to making boring things more fun, even just trying to get over insecurities, even on to personal branding. And the idea is with this whole mentorship and everything, we're trying to just get more out there and engage with people, but you'll never know who's going to come across in your life. And not everyone is good intended. And we have Janika Mares coming on to talk all about how to overcome abusers, gauge those waters, see narcissists coming from afar, and build your boundaries and act accordingly to get yourself out of these situations. So I appreciate you. We look forward to helping you navigate the waters of life. For the great people and the sharks out there coming soon, appreciate y'all. Peace.